Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Global Isolation Solution. My name is Renee Michaud, and up next is someone that I've admired and followed for years, Mary O'Malley. Welcome, Mary.
I'm so glad to be here, Renee.
So excited that you've been able to join us today. So honored. As I said, I have followed and admired your work for years.
Thank you.
I read some of your books through the Institute for the Psychology of Eating with Mark David as well. So some of that is required reading, and it's fabulous. I always learn so much for you. So I'm so excited about our interview today. And the talk for the interview today is the gifts that COVID-19 brings. But before we get started, I just want to read a brief bio for Mary. Mary O'Malley is an author, teacher, and counselor whose work awakens others to the joy of being fully alive. Her inspired and transformative approach to being with life, no matter what is happening, offers a way to replace fear, hopelessness, and struggle with ease, well-being, and joy. Neil Donald Welsh, author of Conversations with God, says, I consider Mary O'Malley to be one of the most extraordinary teachers of our time. And I honestly couldn't agree more, Mary.
Thank you, Renee.
Extreme honor to have you here today with us. So before we get into the interview, I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind perhaps telling our audience about your personal journey, a little bit of your story, and how you got started with your own work as well.
Well, I think my story can really help us get the gifts that COVID-19 is bringing, because I had the kind of life in my childhood you wouldn't wish on anybody. And I just went deeper and darker and deeper and darker. And so many people try to help me, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, group therapy, hypnotherapy. And eventually I came to a place in my early 20s where I gained 97 pounds in a year. That was the way I was trying to numb this pain, because I didn't know how to be with the huge amount of pain that I took on in my childhood. And I was washing it all down with alcohol and taking every single drug I could get my hands on. And when that all didn't work, I tried to kill myself 3 times. And the last time I tried to kill myself, I was slitting my wrists in a windowless bedroom in a basement apartment. If that's not a metaphor, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And all I could remember is I couldn't get myself to bleed enough. I just kept on cutting and cutting. And I could remember exactly where I was sitting. And I could remember I asked my first open-ended question, the kind of question that you ask without looking for an answer, that when you ask questions in that way, you literally access the wisdom of the universe. I didn't look for the answer because I was in such despair. I didn't feel like there was an answer, but the question I ask is, if I can't get out of this, what is this all about? And less than a year later, a man came into that windowless bedroom with a book that started me on this journey. And then shortly thereafter, I started being with a teacher. He was a hatha yoga teacher, but he came up from California to Seattle, and my life changed from a black and white, grainy horror movie to a Dolby surround sound Technicolor Panavision movie. And I couldn't tell you what he said.
Right.
All I knew was that when I was in that room, I recognized something that I had never seen before. So the 3rd time he came up from California, I lugged in a reel-to-reel tape deck that dates me a bit, and taped the whole thing and recorded, transcribed the whole thing, 3 sentences back, back and forth. That notebook, when my house and store burned to the ground, that's what I grieved. And because it was a doorway into this whole new way of being with life. And I went to him the last time he came up here and I said, I want to tell you what I'm getting from you, and I want you to tell me whether I'm on the right track. And he said, yes. And I said, in the seeing is the movement. And his eyes just twinkled. What he's basically saying there is, I had tried to fix myself. All these other people had tried to fix myself. And all it did was get me into a deeper quagmire. he's basically saying there's nothing to be fixed inside. It is just learning that art of giving your attention to fear, to sadness, to despair, to irritation, to anger, to confusion, to doubt. And that set me on a whole new path, but he didn't teach it with heart. And it wasn't until 11 years later I met a man called Stephen Levine, who has written many books on death and dying, but really, truly is about how to be fully alive, because he was taught by people on their deathbeds. And he was the man that showed me the pathway back to my own heart. And this transformed my life, that moment where I asked my first open-ended question, to when I met Joel, to when I met Stephen. And then I began to, people began to ask me to teach, and it took me a number of years before, well, actually, people started to ask me to teach when I was in my 20s. And I said, no way, Jose.
Right.
And eventually life kind of just threw me in the middle of the ocean, and I discovered that I could swim, that I had this talent for speaking. And then one day in one of my groups, somebody said, well, would you write a synopsis every day? Every Monday, and I started doing that. And then about a couple of months later, they said, this could be a book, and that's where I started writing. And again, I've had no training in it, and yet my publishers say I write very well. That is because I have learned how to come out of the bubble of struggle. Just imagine the most beautiful ocean you could imagine. This is the ocean of being. This is who you truly are. Floating on that ocean is a small, opaque bubble. It's opaque because when you're in the bubble, you can't see the ocean of being. That is called, I call it the bubble of struggle. And if you had a little door on your forehead and you could watch the ticker tape, you would see the bubble of struggle. This storyteller in our head is always trying so hard to do life and do it right, and believes it doesn't do it right enough, and it struggles with small things like a spot on your shirt all the way to, a terminal diagnosis. And yet there is a way out of the bubble of struggle. And it isn't by trying to get out of the bubble of struggle. That's what I did when I first started awakening in the 60s. Man, we were going to enlightenment. And we were going to leave all this junk behind. And for a couple of years, I thought I was a friggin' failure at that. And then life began to show me that the way back to the ocean of being is to get to know the bubble of struggle, to learn how to not take it personally.
That's beautiful. I mean, I love how also, your own personal journey informs who you become in the end, and what you have to share with the world. It's kind of like your training, if you will, in a way, around what you're meant to really bring to the world, because I'm sure you've helped hundreds and thousands of people through the bubble of struggle.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of people. We just heard that What's in the Way is being published in Japan, among other countries,
Right, yeah.
But, the other thing to add here, Renee, is that you see that it's like you have an evolution. At one time you were 2 feet tall, right? And now I don't know how tall you are, somewhere 5 something, and so at one time you couldn't walk, and now you can walk and run. So you have evolved. One time you couldn't speak language, and slowly and surely you became skillful in English and maybe other languages. So too with the earth. The earth is an evolving process. And one time it was just gas and dust. But slowly and surely it went through all of these major shifts to, atoms coming together into communities called molecules, which are, oh my God, so intelligent, and molecules coming together into one cell, and then cells coming together. And in every single step of this evolving process on the planet, there has always been chaos, as an old way is dying and a new way is being born. And for the first time, evolution is happening in human consciousness. We are the most powerful force, other than Mother Nature, on this planet, that it used to be, atomically based, and then it was molecularly based, and then it was, cellularly based. But for the first time since humanity took on this bubble of struggle that coalesced, this frontal lobe that coalesced into the bubble of struggle, life is inviting us to see through a different lens. Yeah. And that, to me, we look back at my life, I would not be who I am now without all of that heartache. I wouldn't want to live it again.
No.
But it's, I love to say that if somebody deposits a whole truckload of manure in your driveway, what we mostly try to do is run away from it.
Right.
And we put tarps over it,
Yes.
But if we learn how to compost it,
yes.
And put it in the garden, it grows beautiful flowers. That's a way to frame the COVID-19. It has radically changed how we connect with the world.
Yes.
And to me, there is something new that's being born out of it. And it usually, major transitions in our life and in the Earth's life, they happen in chaos.
Yes. Yeah.
But then newness happens. So the title of my latest book is What's in the Way is the way.
Yeah.
And I tell people, you don't even need to read the book.
No.
Just live that title. Because here we have something that is generating so much fear economically, health-wise, for our loved ones, for the planet itself. And yet it's also bringing such deep gifts.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for it. I don't like it. I don't have to like it, but I'm grateful for it because something's happening on this planet that couldn't have happened without something like this showing up.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like having something, that shows up on the road and you have to deal with it. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's kind of showing up so that we get to take notice and to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, to that, then how can we open up to the gifts that, the COVID-19 might be bringing?
Well, let's first of all look at some of the main gifts.
Some of them. Yeah.
Oh my God. Gratitude.
Right.
There's so many things that you have taken for granted that you can't do anymore.
Yes.
And we may not know the gratitude until, we can go visit our friend's house or go to the grocery store without mask and gloves. But there is that sense of gratitude.
Yes.
There is that sense of the preciousness. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Our loved ones could die in an instant.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there is that deeper appreciation of the gift of life. I was talking to somebody the other day whose father had major surgery right before the country got shut down.
Right.
And then he got blood clots, which are one of the side effects of COVID-19.
Right.
And they almost lost him.
Right.
And this person had been at odds with her father for most of her life. And they have healed.
Yes.
He sent the most amazing text, the text she had always waited for when he was in the hospital and didn't know whether he was living or dying.
Right.
So that's some of the everyday things.
Yeah.
But really, truly, to me, if we go back to that image of the ocean of being, which is who we really are, and the bubble of struggle.
Yeah.
If you had a soundtrack to the bubble of struggle, you'll see it's based on fear.
Right. Yeah.
And what's the acronym for fear? False evidence appearing as real.
Right.
But the fear in our minds, our fear of dying, our fear of losing our home, our fear of touching surfaces, our fear of talking to somebody. Fear really, truly is what promotes the bubble of struggle.
Right.
The bubble of struggle is also glued together with judgment.
Yes.
And oh my God, we just want to find somebody to blame.
That manure pile.
Exactly. And then you find that it turns itself against you.
Right.
What happened for me you know, and I'm not saying all that therapy I did for the first, 30 years of my life,
Yes.
was a complete waste. I think that therapy and affirmations and mantras can all be very powerful for redesigning the bubble of struggle, having an easier bubble of struggle to live with. But as far as I can see, the way out of the bubble of struggle is learning that art of relating to your fear-based mind rather than being lost in it. It's the difference between saying, oh my God, I'm so anxious. I can't, I don't know if I can make my mortgage payment next month.
Yeah.
And, oh, fear is here.
Right.
The first one, you are completely identified with the bubble of struggle. Remember, it's not who you are. It's just conditioning.
Right.
And it feels so real because most of us have lived most of our lives. Our attention follows thought wherever it goes. And we believe it. If thought says we're sad, we believe we are sad. If thought says we're mad, we think we're mad. And yet the more that you can see thought, and this is what I learned from my first teacher, Joel, in the seeing is the movement. I didn't need to fix this fear. I had tried, I lived in dread.
Right.
There was many levels of abuse I experienced, but one of them was that my mother decided that my father was trying to make her go insane when they separated when I was 10. And he hired somebody to watch our house. And whenever we left, he would come in and move something. And can you imagine coming home from school and mother says, oh, there's a spoon on the counter, which one of us had left at breakfast.
Okay.
But that feeling of dread, that's why I wanted to kill myself. That's why I ate so much, drank so much, did so many drugs. And was I able to be with dread at the beginning? No. But slowly and surely, I developed the muscle of my attention so that I could relate to just unease.
Right.
And then subtle anxiousness.
Okay.
And then deeper anxiousness. And then fear. But it took me strengthening that muscle in order to finally be with dread. And dread is that feeling of something horrible is going to happen, and it's going to happen because you screwed up.
Right.
And so it was, I can still remember the night that I actually was with dread. I woke up, it was there in the middle of the night. And my first thought is, I'm going to go eat something.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what we do to manage, our compulsions, to manage our unskillfulness. We just try to push it away and get as far away as you can. But as all of us basically know, that doesn't lead to any good place. That's just like trying to fight quicksand.
Right.
And so I said to that one that wanted to, go eat something, I said, yeah, absolutely. If you need to go do that, but it doesn't help in the long run.
Right.
And so I'll tell you what, let's go into our body and meet, just acknowledge what's holding on. And I found this tight, fiery ball, right in my solar plexus. Yeah. And I gave it the light of my attention.
Beautiful. And
that ball of agony burst forth into joy.
Wow, I have goosebumps from that, just hearing that, because what I'm hearing too is, I think the key element you're speaking to, and correct me if I'm wrong, is actually removing the self-judging part.
It's necessary.
Yeah, otherwise you will want to kind of, go into oblivion with something, hiding it in some way, food, alcohol, drugs, shopping, whatever it is, whatever oblivion choice.
Yeah, that choice of turning away.
Right.
This work is about turning towards in a safe way. Right. I wasn't ready to go and meet the dread until, a number of years of practicing how to catch myself. I call it becoming a tightness detective.
Right.
Our natural state is free-flowing aliveness. Today, the clouds there's a wind, the clouds are dancing through the sky, the trees are swaying. I'm looking out this beautiful window. Everything moves in nature. everything. Light waves move, sound waves move, the blood moves throughout your body, the impulses of your nervous system. Day flows into night and night into day. And we, as we got scared out of ourselves when we were young, we tighten.
Right.
And it's amazing. Most of us are just shallow breathers. So I invite people to become a tightness detective, that to know when you're tightening, and you may catch it in your shoulders, or you may catch it in your belly, or you may just notice it because you're hardly breathing. Know that you're caught in the bubble of struggle. And that, maybe that's all you can do, because struggle, we have super fed it for most of our lives. And the collective mind is mainly caught in struggle.
Yes.
But moments where you can just say, oh, caught in struggle. You may not be able to see what it is. Oh, caught in struggle. You know, oh my God, my jaw is aching. You know, but more and more, you're able to step back and go, oh, the mind is afraid right now. Not I am afraid.
Yeah.
Because that's identifying with the bubble of struggle. Oh, the mind is afraid. And slowly and surely, and this took me a while, because I was abused on many levels, including sexual, which was, you know, just one of the deepest kind of invasions a young child can experience. Yes. And so I think the reason why I went through so much heartache when I was young is that life wanted me to fully experience how much fear, self-judgment, agony, and despair there is in the bubble of struggle. And slowly and surely, I learned how to be with it, rather than getting seduced into its story. And, you know, is this a straight line? No. You know, you get it, then you go back into the bubble of struggle, but then you become a tightness detective, you know, and then you come back and you begin to see, oh my God, there is a living moment where life is happening. And most of the time I'm up here thinking about my life. Alan Watts, the wonderful Zen philosopher who is now passed, said, no matter how many times you say the word water, it will never be wet.
That's true.
Isn't that wonderful, Renee?
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's true.
And that's what we long for. We long for the wetness of life. And I am here to say that COVID-19 is for us. You know, one of the other gifts may be that you get caught in overwhelm, and you're overwhelmed with raising your, educating your kids at the same time you're working at home, and you're having a hard time with your mate, you know. But again, we become a tightness detective. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I mentioned at the beginning that can be very helpful, besides becoming a tightness detective, is to realize that this can't bring you to the ocean of being. No. It can't. It's not smart enough. It's only a part of life. And so you begin to learn how to partner with life through, how I learned was open-ended questions. Asking a question without looking for an answer. My publishers say I write very well. Yeah. And my agent once asked me, you know, do you ever get writer's block? And I said, no. And she said, well, you're the only writer I ever worked with that doesn't have writer's block. And I said, that's because I know I'm not the one writing. Yeah. I just turn it over. And then if nothing's happening that day, I don't write. But it will come, because when you ask a question, you create a vacuum in the universe. Yeah. And it's to live the agony of the first 30 years of my life, the self-hate, the hopeless despair, the sense of being all alone, has all been transformed into this joy, this connection with myself and with life, this love of myself exactly as I am, and this, I mean, that's all wonderful, but there's nothing like learning that you are never alone and you can partner with life. You don't have to do it. Yeah. Life will do it if you turn it over to life. Right.
So much hope in that message, you know, Mary. There's just so much hope, because I know that there's so many people that are lost in the struggle.
Exactly.
And do you not see even how they would be able to, what it even feels like to feel the joy that you're speaking of, right?
Which is our natural state.
Yeah, that
It's our
connection
natural
is,
state. You know, what we do is, in fact, I was just at the doctor this morning. It was just so, he's just an amazing man. He asked me last time, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm an author. And he said, what have you written? I was talking about what's in the way. I don't know. He stayed in my office forever because he was so fascinated by it. And so he checked my foot out and everything. And then he said, I want to tell you about this insight I got the other day. And I want to hear what you think about it. And he said, trying to get happiness actually leads us to, I can't remember what word he was, a suffering or something. He didn't use suffering, it was something along that line.
yeah.
But it's the challenges of our life that really truly empower us. And I said, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
And what I told him is, happiness to me is getting what you want. It's not bad or wrong, you know. You know, we do want, you know, easier, happier things in our life, but joy comes from the ability to be with what is.
Yeah.
Because it will always be changing. We get a hold of some happiness and then it fades away. We get a new car and then somebody keys down the side of it, or we get a new mate and then we find out they fart in bed.
They're not perfect. Oh my God.
Burp and, you know, whatever. Squeeze the toothpaste tube from the center and not the bottom. You know, happiness comes and goes.
Yeah.
But joy comes from the ability to, well, let me say this. Eckhart Tolle, this is one of my favorite quotes of him. He's the one that wrote The Power of Now and The New Earth.
Yeah.
And he said, life will give you the exact set of experiences you need in order to become a conscious human being.
Right.
How do we know they're the right set? Because you're having them.
You're having them, yeah.
Isn't that? Yeah. And what is it, a conscious human being? It's more and more to unhook from the bubble of struggle that puts a filter between you and life, and to show up for life, to become the dance of life. How do we do that? To get to know how we struggle. How does fear talk inside of us? How does shame talk inside of us?
Right. Yeah.
And learning how to not take that personally.
Right.
That slowly and surely dissolves the bubble of struggle. And you live more in the ocean of being. I still go into the bubble of struggle. You know, I had 2 surgeries last year that was supposed to help with deep pain, and they made it worse.
Okay.
But especially the middle of the night, when you're woken up with pain and you can't get back to sleep, oh my God, such richness. Because over and over again, the mind would react. I would become a tightness detective. I would go exploring, and it would all let go through the light of my accepting attention, and that would fall back to sleep again. Did I like it when I was woken up the next night? No. But I don't have to like it, but it is trustable. Life is giving us the exact set of experiences we need in order to come back to the ocean of being.
Right. Yeah. And I'm hearing too is not to be resisting what is.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's interesting, Renee. You said it in that way. Resistance is a part of the process.
Interesting. Okay. Tell me more.
So a scientist once told me that an atom is held together both by what he calls allurement and resistance.
Right.
So this, oh my God, its main stance in the world is resistance. All you have to do is look at a 2-year-old.
Yes.
I know. One time we were all 2 years old, and that was when this storyteller was being developed into our head. And so I've led retreats in Hawaii for many years, and one retreat, the theme of it was all is welcome here. And I had these signs all over the retreat center, all is welcome here.
Right.
And somebody came in one day and said, you know what I read when I read those signs? All is well, come here.
Wow. Yeah. Different perspective.
That amazing?
Yeah.
So what this this mind needs to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
That it is spent its life trying to push away what it doesn't like with resistance and grab hold of what it does like.
Right.
And you can't just say, resistance, you're not supposed to be here.
No.
Resistance is a part of the process to befriend. You know, when I befriended dread, it was changed my life.
Right.
But it took me longer because resistance doesn't have such a sharp edge.
No.
You know, it's kind of like this, you know, it's kind of like air. You know,
Yeah.
air is all around me, but I can't see it. Oh my God, Renee, the moment that you begin to recognize how resistant the mind is, the bubble of struggle is,
Yeah.
and you befriend resistance, it loses its power over you. Resistance comes, you
Gotcha.
say, oh, hi, come have a cup of tea. It's okay that you're here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I've been so mad at you over the years, but I see you're an important part of me.
Right.
And resistance goes, a cup of tea?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, okay, got it. So more befriending it rather than
Exactly.
eliminating it or something like
You can't.
that.
That's
No.
what the bubble of struggle does. I was interviewed for an amazing book a number of years ago called M-Braining, and
Yeah.
the M stands for multiple. And what these
Okay.
men did was that they went out all over the world and they found 600 of the leading edge studies about how we have 3 brains.
Right.
Well, the whole body is a brain, but
Right.
you know, but the main brains are head brain, heart brain, and gut
Heart
brain.
brain. Okay.
People know about the head brain because that's, you know, and we need it. I'm not
Yeah.
knocking it. It's
No,
important
no.
for maneuvering through reality. There's a lot
Definitely.
written about the gut brain now,
Right.
you
Yes.
know, and how much it, you know, what's, you know, the bacteria and how much it creates the, you know, things for our brain. And
Yeah, neurotransmitters and all that.
but
Yeah.
every single study said our main brain is our heart brain.
Right.
And it is literally a brain.
Right.
This is exclusive. It likes this, it doesn't like that. It thinks this is good, that is bad, that is right, that is wrong. That is the bubble
judging.
of struggle.
Right.
The heart is inclusive.
Right.
It has room for everything. It doesn't fight. And I came across this wonderful quote the other day, and I don't know if I'll be able to remember it exactly, but it's from Lao Tzu, who is one of the wisest people that ever been on this planet. You know, and he said, water is soft,
Mm-hmm.
and it can move mountains
Mm-hmm.
and the earth.
Yeah.
This shows us the power of softness over hardness.
So true. Hey.
So this is hard.
True. Yeah.
This is always trying and doing and delineating and saying
Yeah.
good, bad. It's dualistic in nature.
Right.
The heart is soft, but it is much more powerful than the brain. It is
Yes.
inclusive. It doesn't turn everything into a problem.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
so much of this work is, and that's what Stephen did for me, he helped me to see the armoring around my heart. Oh my
Yeah.
God, we're all so sensitive when we're young.
Yes.
We're these little tiny people being raised by unconscious giants, and they wounded us.
Yes.
And it wasn't safe for this sensing, sensitive brain inside
Mm-hmm.
of our chest
Mm-hmm.
to stay open. And we use this as our guide.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
at one moment says, I should buy a car. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I can't buy a car. You know,
Yeah.
oh, I'll go on a diet. Oh,
Yeah.
screw that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to eat, you know, a dozen cookies.
Yeah.
The heart brain is where lasting healing happens.
Right. And I've heard too, you know, that the energy field around the brain goes way beyond the body.
Yeah.
Right. So it senses things first and foremost before it even sends the signal to the brain. So the brain can say, oh,
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
right.
It always, what was it? They did it, I think it was the Institute for Noetic Sciences. They put people, they hooked them up to brain sensors, body sensors, and heart, you know,
Yes.
beat sensors. And they showed them a computer that randomly chose either horrific pictures or beautiful pictures. And every single person, the heart brain responded first.
Exactly.
Then the body.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so amazing. And they said in a certain percentage of the people, the heart brain responded 6 to 8 seconds before the computer chose a picture.
I know. I know, that's the thing that just was astounding. I remember seeing that. Even the eye didn't register, nothing's even seen the picture and in the heart. So when you were talking about your editor, uh, you know, is your editor, right? That said you're a wonderful writer. And I think
My
that
agent.
your agent, sorry, I think your writing, it's because you're coming from the whole, except the heart space,
The heart
versus the head, you know,
Yeah.
where you can go, where writer block is probably where that exists.
Right. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true, because it
Yeah.
comes from the heart. It comes
Right.
from that beautiful, deep longing to serve the awakening of humanity.
Right.
And I think we are, Renee, at this may be even more important a step in evolution than when life came out of the sea and onto land.
Mm-hmm.
That for the first time, more and more of us are learning how to live from the heart brain.
Right.
And, you know, you watch the news. Yeah, there's all this stuff about COVID-19, but there's all this stuff about people reaching out.
Yes.
You know, people in their balconies. You know, there is Chicago. You know, in this forest of tall, they had a microphone out. Here were all these people singing for the frontliners. You are the champions.
Right.
I mean, we are reaching out. We are caring. We are getting groceries for, you know, older people. I mean, will we go back to normal? Some of that will fade, but I think we have been changed.
I think
we
so.
can see now that we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's the joy of, I can say, I don't like COVID-19, but I trust it.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, what do you think that we're ready to let go of, to allow us to trust? COVID-19.
The fear-based mind.
The fear-based mind. Okay.
And I want to say it a little bit differently. The more we're present for it, the more the fear-based mind begins to let go.
Okay.
You know, I had an experience that I was waiting at the pickup place at my grocery store for my pickups, and just, I mean, I call this the pause that refreshes. To me, when life slows the ever forward becoming, you know, like standing in line at the post office or watching your, you know, coffee percolate or whatever, that's life saying, breathe yourself into this moment. And here I was in a parking lot, and I was in pure joy, because this is the only moment that mattered. There was people coming and going, cars coming and going, birds singing, and there was no past or future. But then my mind noticed that two cars that had come after me had picked up their groceries and left.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, my attention is no longer in life. It's in the storyteller, and it's in that place where it's not fair.
Right.
And so I call them, and they said, oh, so sorry, there was a delay in your order, but we're coming right back out right now. And my mind had to say, I mean, that I could have left it at that, thank you, but my mind had to say, but there was two people that came after me. And it's so wonderful. I could feel, just as I hung up the phone, a little bit of judgment.
Right.
And I thought, no, you know, do dogs bark? Yeah.
Yeah.
The mind struggles. It was not fair. That sense of when we were children, when we were very young, that his popsicle is a little redder than mine.
Yeah.
You know, it still operates inside of us.
Yeah.
But it's such a joy to begin to be able to relate to it rather than from it.
That's right.
So that to me is and it's glued together with shame.
Right.
To know that those two things, more than anything else that comes in the mind, those will come over and over again. Learn how to not take it personally.
Yeah.
It's just conditioning.
Right.
And as soon as I acknowledged and accepted the one that was saying, wanted to scream, it's not fair, and I came back to my heart, I was back in the parking lot again.
Yeah.
I was back in that, sitting in my car and knowing that of all the 7 billion people on this planet, there's no accident. Who I see as they walk to their car or walk into the store, that's pure joy.
Yeah.
To actually be here, directly participating in life.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Mary. I just love how about that story about how you are aware and then you get to let go of any judgments you might have had. And so you get to, you're refining more and more, and you get to practice again the next time a situation comes up.
Exactly. Because as Eckhart says, life will give you the exact set of experiences you need.
Right.
In order to unhook from all this struggle. Because the ocean of being is always, always here. It's always going, psst, yoo-hoo!
Yeah.
And we're off somewhere in the clouds of our mind.
Yeah. And it's, thanking those experiences for the gifts that they brought, the opportunity, for yourself to become aware.
We can trust the process. We really can. We don't have to like it.
Yeah.
But for heaven's sakes, at one time, life took nothing more substantial than stardust and created the DNA molecule.
Right.
Oh God. And now it changes a few of the bases and it comes up with an octopus, and changes a few of the, the rungs of the ladder of the DNA, and out comes a spider, and it changes a few of the bases and out comes you. Yeah. This is a highly intelligent process, and it doesn't leave the human condition when we're caught in our head. We just think it does.
Yeah. Yeah. It's miraculous.
Yeah, it is.
It's really truly miraculous,
the whole thing. The whole thing.
So I can't thank you enough. Is there anything, final words before we close today? I know you have a free gift for everyone. Would you like to share a little bit about it?
It's a nice big discount on, I do online courses now.
Okay.
And it's going to be happening in the fall.
Okay.
And so they'll be able to get the link, and they will, be able to contact Deborah.
Okay.
Would love to have them. The one we're doing in the fall is The Gift of Our Compulsions.
Oh, I love that
book. The book that, and it understands our core compulsion is to struggle.
Yes.
And all the other compulsions are an attempt to numb out from that heartache. Right. We're starving for being. In fact, I'll leave you all with this wonderful quote from Joseph Campbell, he wrote The Power of Myth. He's just this wonderful man that has explored how we've told stories down through the eons to try to make sense of this. And he put this on the first page of the first chapter of the book, The Power of Myth. I put this quote on the first page of the first chapter of my first book, called Belonging to Life.
Right.
And you'll understand the title when I say this quote, what Joseph said. People say that what we're searching for is the meaning to life. Yeah. I don't think that's what we're searching for at all. What we're searching for is the experience of being alive, so that our experiences on the physical plane resonate in our very innermost being, and we again know the rapture of being alive.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I knew rapture in a parking lot. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
It's always here. Get to know how you struggle, and that will bring you home.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Such an honor to have you here on the Global Isolation Solution, Mary. And thank you everyone for being part of this event. Today, don't forget to get Mary's amazing gift, her big discount on her upcoming course in September. That'll be on the link in the email. And also to check out Mary's website. What's your website, Mary?
MaryO'Malley.com.
MaryO'Malley.com. Get all the information there about her books and other events that you have going on. Thank you once again. And this is Renee Michaud saying goodbye, and I'll see you on your next interview. Thank you, Mary.